Welcome to Chamber Chats, the Halifax Chamber's new podcast where we check in with the local business community, ask government the tough questions, and find ways to save your business money. For the foreseeable future, we're focusing on COVID-19 and the economic impact we're facing, along with available resources and tales of resiliency. Coming to you from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Okay, hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Halifax Chamber's new podcast, which is fast turning into a Zoom call, but nonetheless, one or the other. I'm Patrick Sullivan, President and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, and your host for today. We started this way of communicating with our members as a new way to reach out to our members and to the business community as we navigate COVID-19. Today's guest is Sean Carr with Ceridian. Sean Carr is a Ceridian Consultant for small business and a channel specialist for the Atlantic Canada region. Sean's been working for Ceridian for over 3 years, supporting companies in the 1 to 100 employee space with payroll and HR needs. Does that all sound right, Sean?
That sounds pretty much on point, Pat. Thank you
for
having me.
Okay, well, welcome, Sean, and thanks for joining us on Chamber Chats. So nice to see you.
Sean, yeah, great to see you as well.
Yeah, and I didn't think I would see you today, but it's great to see you. So tell our listeners about Ceridian.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Ceridian is a global human capital management technology company, and we help employers manage their employees from hire to retire. So that'll be everything from small business payroll services all the way up to large, complex HRIS for enterprises. So our goal is to help organizations transform the employee lifecycle management experience, so that way employers can get more out of their employees and focus on the whole reason they originally got into business. And above all else, our goal is to help make work-life better.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty good. Now, what is something, or is there something that people don't know about your organization?
Yeah, great question, Pat. So I think something that usually surprises people is that we actually pay roughly 1 in 5 Canadians, and that'll go out to nearly 50,000 businesses across Canada. As well, we're actually the only company in Canada that offers an unlimited legal HR advisory support on a subscription basis.
So when you say on a subscription basis, does that mean if I'm a subscriber, or is that a separate program, or is that included with my regular Ceridian offering? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. So it's actually separate than the payroll,
okay.
Right? So if you feel you need a little more HR advisory support, or you need support from like an employment lawyer, then you can elect to subscribe for that service.
Okay, and do I need to sign up sort of monthly, annually? How does that work?
So traditionally it'd be on an annual basis, but given everything that's going on, we've tried to make some adaptations to it, and you can look at it from as low as like a 3-month term right now.
Okay, well, I suspect that's probably a pretty busy area right now.
It is, yes, especially right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's obviously lots of change, lots of activity in the kind of the human capital, the human resources space right now. What's the biggest thing you're hearing from your clients right now about COVID-19?
Yeah, so I mean, personally, when I've been reaching out to clients, I've actually heard a lot of optimism. And so there's countless stories from different clients who have actually adapted their businesses to either make themselves a little bit more accessible during this time, or to help support their communities. So, for example, I've worked with some companies who have altered their operations to make those glass barriers you see at Superstore. They've also had other companies who have developed new and improved home air filter systems, and as well as some who have actually worked to start delivering home fine dining experiences. But if you were to ask maybe someone from our service team the same question, I imagine they're going to say a lot of clients are calling in seeking for general information about what's going on, as well, getting help with completing ROEs, and then of course understanding the 2 different wage subsidies that have been rolled out.
Oh, really? And I mean, you kind of alluded to this just a moment ago with that comment, but what's Ceridian's role kind of in this time of crisis?
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, we are here to support our clients any way we can. So providing them with information is a huge part of that, or even just directing them to the information that they need. So, as the government continues to roll out new programs, we're going to do our best to stay on top of them. And we've actually provided many free webinars to help educate our clients, and even those who aren't our clients. So in addition, actually, we've also modified, like I was mentioning before, some of our small business solutions. So that includes the payroll solution PowerPay, where we've actually input a section there to help calculate the 10% wage subsidy. And then we've also modified, like I was saying before, our HR advisory services to make them more accessible for small businesses. You know,
So it is pretty. I won't say it's really hard, but it's pretty difficult for a small business to kind of set up their payroll system, do the withholding, do all of that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what Ceridian's there to help with, right? At a pretty reasonable cost, I think.
yeah, absolutely. When you think about the time and the effort that has to go into completing payroll, if you're able to outsource it for, I think our average cost, if you're a small business owner to look at, would be like 1% of your annual operating costs. Makes a lot of sense to outsource to professionals who are going to help you, stay compliant, especially when there's so much turbulence in legislation.
Well, and turbulence is a great example. I mean, as you and I were talking before we got on camera, I mean, there seems to be an announcement every day.
There is, yeah,
I think last week there was an announcement every day of the week,
yeah.
and some of those impact payroll. Some of them are other things like rent and all that sort of thing. But just keeping up. There's, I think, the 10% wage subsidy. How does that work?
Yeah. So basically, what will happen is when you're calculating your employee's pay, you'll be able to take the 10% of whatever their pay would have been for that month, and then you can reduce that off of your remittance values. So if you're paying all of your employees, let's say 5 employees, and it works out to be $5,000 for the month, then you would be able to take $500 or 10% off of that, and you would basically reduce this from your remittance values to the CRA.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Okay, thanks. So on the and that's I think that's available to everybody. So I think for the 75%, you had to have a decline of 15% or 30%
Yep,
in revenue, but for the 10%, it's available to everybody. But as you pointed out before we were talking, to a limit of $25,000.
that's right, or
Yeah.
1375 an employee.
Right. Okay. Good point. Well, I did see. I did go to the Ceridian website and saw the number of webinars that you have.
Mhm.
I think we'd like to have some of those folks speak to the Halifax Chamber members as well. But there were a lot of webinars, and then I think they're available later too, aren't they?
Yeah, so we have our COVID-19 info page, and
Right.
so all of the webinars we've had have been recorded, so you can go back and review them and get any of the information you need that way as well.
Right. Okay. Great. Okay. Now let's get on to some of your other products. Sorry. You were going to talk about you were going to compare the 10% to the 75%. So let's go back to the 75%. How does
Mhm.
that one work?
Yeah, so they have to apply. So basically, there's different um, there'll be different basically thresholds that they have to meet for loss in revenue over different months from year to
Right.
year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they've recently updated those as well. But basically, if you qualify, you apply through the CRA,
Yeah.
and then so you are basically almost able to get 75% back of those wages for employees. The
Right.
idea is that you pay your employees, if possible, 100% of
Yeah.
their regular salary, and
Yeah.
then you'll get, I believe it's like 6 weeks later, you're going to supposed to get the 75% back.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. All right. Um, Now let's go on to some of the other products. You mentioned Dayforce. What is Dayforce?
Yeah, so Dayforce would be our like more robust. It's also a cloud-based payroll solution, more so for pay, time and attendance, um, and it's really looking to help those larger organizations, so above 100 employees.
Right. Oh, I
Mhm.
see. Oh, okay. Okay. And so how does working from home get involved in that? I mean, is there what's new? Is this a new program for employees or employers?
Um, sorry, you're referring to like the
The
new
Dayforce,
Dayforce
well,
safety.
Dayforce. Oh, sorry. You know what? I think it's different. It's Dayforce Employee Safety Monitoring.
Yeah, so this would be like a new addition to our Dayforce suite. Again, it's a much more comprehensive human capital management solution. So again, looking at the larger companies,
Yeah.
but essentially with the new safety monitors program that we have, the main goal is to help organizations ensure the well-being and safety of their employees while maintaining critical business operations. Right. So there's three main components to it, Pat. Basically, the first would be that they're able to monitor the employee location and update their personal information from anywhere by allowing employees to check in at an office or at home. Right.
Okay.
The second would be that you're able to get the status of and health reporting for employees. which
Yeah.
allows you to configure key HR forms and to track COVID-19 implications and developments.
Okay.
And then lastly, it's being able to help communicate effectively and send real-time communications to your employees. So whether that's through their work email or personal email or a text.
Right, right, right. Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
HR. So, what are some of the challenges HR professionals are facing in our new work from home reality? Which I think I learned the other day that yesterday I was on my 40th day of at home, although I have gone to
Yeah.
drive-throughs occasionally, but 40th day, and apparently 40 is the Italian word for quattro, which is where you get quarantine. Anyway, it depressed me to find out all this information. But what are the challenges HR professionals are facing in our new work from home reality?
Yeah, well, you got to think it's completely different, managing your workforce, from afar versus when you're right there in the office and you get to see them on a regular basis. So, some of the things that we've been hearing, as far as some of the challenges go, would be keeping your employees focused and not feeling isolated. And then as well as, managing them from a distance, like I just mentioned, and always trying to keep your staff motivated. And, especially as you mentioned, with being such a long time at home and quarantined, how it can be a little depressing. Mental health is definitely a huge concern right now, and staying on top of that from an HR
Right.
perspective.
Well, and maybe we covered this already, but I want to go back to it. So, in your COVID-19 Central, there are articles. What are some of those most useful topics to discuss with the business community right now?
Yeah, I mean, everyone really is trying to always get information on any of the different government programs being rolled out. But we do have just some thought leadership articles there. So to your point, it's a massive shift for a lot of employees to be able to go from working in an office on on a daily basis to completely being stuck at home. And so being able to you get the most out of your employees and help keeping them engaged. Those are really difficult things that potentially whether it's the HR manager or the employees themselves have never really had to face. So getting some thought leadership on being able to help support employees from home or to be able to keep employees motivated from home, those have been some trending topics.
Right. Oh, okay, great. Okay. Now, Ceridian is a Halifax Chamber affinity partner, and you have offers for our members. What's the offer? Can you explain that offer for Halifax Chamber members?
Yeah, for sure. So for any new small business clients that are looking to get some payroll support, they actually get a free implementation and 20% off of all their recurring payroll fees. And that's for as long as they have an account with us. It's not a
Oh,
limited
really?
time or anything like that. It's their entirety with Ceridian. Yep.
Oh, great. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, good. Okay, what have I missed, Sean? What else do you need to tell me about Ceridian and how you can help our members?
I think one of the biggest things right now, like I had kind of touched on before, it's providing information, right? Um, this is such an uncertain time. So if you do have any kind of questions surrounding payroll or HR, by all means, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. This is the time where I think we need to share as much information as possible. And if it comes to the point where you are looking for that extra level of support, by all means, engage us. We can definitely help you out. Um, and I think just like a lot of businesses, if they're not in operation right now, they're starting to think about business continuity plans.
Right.
And so what I mean by that really is, some businesses, they're starting to realize, Pat, my goodness, how do I actually pay employees right now if I'm not able to cut checks or go into the office and drop them off? So it's developing a system that can be put in place so you can pay all of your employees very easily from home, or
Mhm.
so that you have policies that are going to support your employees to work from home or take vacation, whatever that may be.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and you mentioned kind of right at the beginning the HR support program as
Yeah.
well, which you said could be for as little as 3 months right now, although ideally longer. But I suspect there's a lot of advice that people need, maybe a little earlier in this COVID-19 when people were panicking initially. But people I think have kind of settled in a little bit more. But there's still lots of questions, I suspect.
Yeah, they've definitely settled in, but at the same time, I think a lot of employers have actually taken time to reevaluate, a lot of their company policies, because this, let's be honest, this kind of took us all by surprise. So we didn't necessarily have the right processes in place to deal with the pandemic. And not to say that there's going to be another one, but for any other circumstances that can become that can come up, we definitely want to make sure we're best prepared to handle them as an organization,
Right.
right? And so, from like a small business perspective, we recognize that a lot of the times it's those small business owners who need the most support, and we want to make sure we can provide that and make it sure it's accessible to them.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great. Okay. Well, thanks, Sean. Thank you very much for joining us
Thank you,
today.
Pat.
Looking forward to working with you as we get back to business. Not
That's
that
right.
this was stopped, but as we get back to sort of some of our events and activities, that's for sure. So tune in next time on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And bye for now from the Halifax Chamber. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Pat. Take care.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Tune in next time at halifaxchamber.com/podcast. The Halifax Chamber is in your corner.